Hi guys, welcome in to Rover Sports today. I wanted to talk about the New York Giants, and I wanted to talk and give my opinions on everything surrounding the team and what I would do if I were Dave Gettleman, the general manager of the Giants. This is one of my favorite videos to do each and every week. Or every couple of weeks, because on a video you're kind of able to take your time. I like doing live streams as well, but on a video you're able to take your time, and you're able to give your thoughts on what you want to happen. I think my microphone is working okay, and I hope that the audio is good, because I'm ready to go in on my thoughts about the Giants. And I hope people stick around and listen. When you look at the Giants, I want to again recap everything that has happened, because it's pretty interesting what's going on. This year, I expected Will Hernandez and Nate Solder during the first 8 games of the season. I expected this offensive line to play well enough to win games early on in the season. They did not do that. The Dallas Cowboys game was in week 2 was a horrific offensive performance that brought you back to Ben McAdoo. The Giants played like the worst team in the NFL would play. They played like a bottom 2 team in the NFL. The Oakland Raiders couldn't have played worse. That game, even though the Cowboys only won 17-3, they could have won 58-0. The offense couldn't do anything against the Cowboys, and the Cowboys weren't even, established yet. Okay, don't give me that. Oh, well, the Cowboys now, you pick them to win the Super Bowl. Dallas is not playing anywhere close to how, even the Titans killed the Cowboys in Jerry World. Even the Texans and the Carolina Panthers beat that team to start off the season. That team was a mess. They lost to the Redskins. They were a mediocre team at that time. They didn't have Van Der Esch. They didn't have Byron Jones playing at this position. Keith Richard, or not, whatever his name is, Mike Richard, whatever his name is, Richard. He's an amazing, amazing coach for the Cowboys. Week 3 comes around. They beat the Texans. It's a lot of these dink and dunk little passes. The Texans at that time are a mess. You don't know if Bill O'Brien's going to get fired. They were a terrible team. They barely beat the Colts in week 4. And then the Texans got help from the scheduling gods. And then they are a better team right now. Because they're a more confident team, and they really got scheduling God help. The Giants, unfortunately, needed the bye. The Giants are playing very, very well right now, where if the Giants were in the playoffs starting this week, you could feasibly make an argument that the Giants could even go to LA or New Orleans and can kind of get on this magical ride, because I'm confident that the Giants' defense is now playing a lot better, and because Eli and Saquon's playing at peak of powers for how our team's going to be. That Redskins game is peak of powers. I've never seen the Giants play that well in maybe 4 or 5 years collectively. With Ben McAdoo, it was always one side of the ball playing well, mostly the defense playing really well. So let's get back to the Giants. So they beat the Texans. It was okay. The defense was not very good in that Texans game. Deshaun Watson had about 400 yards of throwing. They got turnovers, but they were mostly fluky. The Saints game was maybe I think the Cowboys game was terrible. I think the Saints game was a complete failure. I hated the way the team played. There was no heart. Up 7-0. The play calling was really bad. No downfield throws. Beckham was saying exactly what was correct. He just needed to say it within closed doors to the quarterback of the team. He didn't need to say it to the media. It was a horrendous effort. Carolina, I love the way the team played. I love the offense in that game. Again, we were throwing the ball a lot. A lot of effort mistakes, but I didn't mind it at all. Carolina's a tough team to beat at home. You know, Carolina this year was even able to beat the Ravens. They had a pretty good bulk of their season where they were playing really well. They're a fringe playoff team. Cam Newton, I love as a quarterback. And the Giants had some really bad calls in that game, you know, some pass interferences. I hated the defense in 2-minute drill, letting them drive down, and great kick. But, you know, the Giants were still, you know, Carolina was a difficult team. These games were all kind of difficult, but there was no structure, and, you know, the Giants were either going to win by 1 point or they were going to lose by 2. So as much as people want to say the Giants were robbed against Carolina, the Giants still would have won by a point. Still would have won by just 1. So Carolina was just as good as the Giants that day. But it was a very good game. The Eagles game was a colossal failure. We can all agree. That was like New Orleans. Some people like the New Orleans game. You know, they think that the defense played well in that game. It was disgusting. The Eagles game was equally disgusting, okay? So you have 3 games. Jacksonville. The Giants were playing like a horrendous football team to start the season. The Redskins game was pathetic. The Falcons game, you were still pretty bad. The defense was horrible in the Falcons game. People talk about how the offense scored 20 points. Eli Manning played well in that Falcons game. But Pat Shurmur in these games, like, he went for 2 against the Falcons. Like, so stupid. You know, Pat Shurmur this year hasn't been perfect at all. He would, in my book, get like a C. And if he finishes the year on a good note, it's a C+. The second half of the Eagles game was abysmal. I still don't know if Pat Shurmur is going to be the guy going forward. I still don't know if it. I mean, I think that Pat Shurmur is going to be a pretty good coach, and that's why I love Dave Gettleman. But Pat Shurmur this year's been off and on. All right. Saquon's been very good. Let's look at the games outside of the bye week, okay? Luckily, we've gotten help from the scheduling gods. We got to play Nick Mullins. Good win. Come from behind. We're still not very good, but we won, and that was huge. The offense played great against Tampa Bay, where you look at Pat Shurmur and say, awesome. Giants played very well. Then they played the Eagles. I liked what I saw for the first half. There were points where the Giants, you know, were coming together collectively. Eagles are a very difficult team to beat. Carson Wentz is really, really good. The Eagles almost beat the Cowboys. You know, Carson Wentz, Zach Ertz. The link is so tough. We can't win there. I don't care if the Eagles were starting like Sanchez or Barkley and Chip Kelly was back. They would probably beat us at the link, because that's I think it's a top 3 home advantage in NFL. I would go with Seattle. I'd probably put the link maybe number 2. As much as I love the New York Giants, our fan base, it's very corporate, the new stadium. And for Dallas Giants games, the Cowboys will override us. The Eagles will outnumber us completely. Like, really, I'm serious. You could sit in a section in the new Giants stadium, in the new Giants stadium, and the other team will honestly outnumber the New York Giants. And I like the Giants fans. We need to stand up on 3rd down. I love the classiness of the game experience. You could certainly meet a bad fan of the New York Giants that is annoying and going to give you a hard time. But I'm curious to see like how many people go to Giants Stadium, and you're going to get a pretty good experience. If you go to an Eagles game, you're really going to get completely hazed if you ever wear another team's jersey. I like that the Giants are kind to the other fans, but on 3rd down, we're nowhere near as rowdy. People tell me to sit down on 3rd downs in Giant Stadium, and that's kind of disappointing. But again, I'm relatively young, and maybe there's some people that really dislike getting up on 3rd down, but I love getting up on 3rd down. I'm always going to love getting up on 3rd down. This is kind of a rant about everything, by the way, so you could take bits and pieces from the video. It's not really structured. I kind of enjoy just getting out my thoughts and Just kind of talking to you guys. So I've recapped the season. The Bears game, they had a backup quarterback. The last game was a backup quarterback. Marcus Mariota is an okay quarterback. He's kind of like Kirk Cousins. You love the personality of the quarterback. You love that they're great competitors. But they're not incredible talents, at least throwing the ball. And Marcus has been hurt this year. But the thing I'm curious to see is, can the Giants, pass on the Titans? Because if I was Tennessee, let's see Tennessee stack the box, right? Let's see them stack. Let's see them put 8 in the box. And the difference is the Giants' offensive line at the beginning of the year was so awful that teams would put 4 guys in the box. And they'd be like, hey, Hernandez, you're new. You're not going to do well. Nate Solder, you're overpaid. Who was Greco was the center. It wasn't Spencer Pulley. You had Omane. Oh my gosh. You could put 3 guys in the box, to 3-4 teams, and you put everybody in the secondary. So Eli has nobody to throw to in the secondary. And then, the teams will put 3 guys in the box and they'll stuff you every time with like a million guys playing the pass. So you're screwed essentially. Right now, Saquon and Jamon Brown have been playing so well, especially Saquon Barkley. He has surprised me. I didn't think Saquon would be this good. He is, right now, the most valuable player in the NFL, probably over the last 4 weeks. Next year, he is going to be an MVP candidate. I think he's now playing like the best running back in the league. I want to see him win the rushing title. But now with Eli Manning and the Giants, Odell and Eli Manning, you're going to get looks in the passing game. And if I were Tennessee, make Eli throw it over your damn head. And that's what I want to see. Can Eli still have the arm strength to put it over the guy's head? And then next year, as we wait 12 months, is Eli Manning going to have the arm strength, the mobility to throw deep down the field? That's all that's going to matter, is can he hit a 40-yard pass throwing it over the top? The Coleman pass was a loopy little pass. It was a beautiful ball, but again, it was high. It was a good throw, but it wasn't like it. You still watch Eli Manning. You still see him get sacked a lot, and I love Eli Manning. If the Giants won a Super Bowl next year with Eli Manning, the fan base would be more happy than if Dwayne Haskins or Lauletta won a championship or even made the playoffs. I'm talking about make the playoffs. It would be more rewarding because everybody hates on Eli Manning. Seeing the Giants do well is always rewarding. Some people are able to have the ability to not have any Eli bias and to just say, okay, you bring in a free agent or a rookie quarterback that's going to play, and then I would be just as happy. Like Bad Dog, a guy on here, I'll say his name. I watch him and the Entertainer Show on here. I watch maybe a handful of Giants YouTubers. Cop Pizzle, I would say right now, and of course I would give these guys an opportunity to come on my show. Entertainer, Cop Pizzle, they want Eli Manning back. They think he has 1 or 2 years left. Especially Entertainer thinks 2, Cop Pizzle thinks 2. Bad Dog thinks Teddy Bridgewater. And Bad Dog has said that it doesn't matter if Eli's playing or not. He doesn't care who the quarterback is. He doesn't get tied up in emotional stuff. It's an interesting way to look at it. I'm different than Bad Dog in that regard because I care about, like, if Eli was starting next year, I'd be just me as a fan, I'd be almost more emotionally invested. And if they were going to the playoffs, I would be very emotional to the point where I would almost be in tears of joy if Eli were ever to win a playoff game again because he's dealt with so much bullshit over these years. I think Eli should get the opportunity to start next year. But there needs to be a better quarterback on the roster than Kyle Lauletta. And this is where we're getting into the Gettleman. This is where we're getting into next year. Let's talk about how the Giants can win next year. Saquon Barkley needs to be far and away the best back in the NFL, he needs to be the MVP next year. If the Giants are going to win 10, 11 games, he needs to win the rushing title. The Giants are going to be running the ball like half the time. He's going to get a crazy workload, like a Derrick Henry, Alabama workload. And the thing about Saquon Barkley is you pray for good health. If he gets injured, the season is completely over. I think right now you can argue that if Saquon wasn't on the Giants franchise, and even if they had Allen, Rosen, or Darnold, the Giants franchise would still be a terrible place to be because Saquon is masking a lot of problems. When you look at the most valuable player in the NFL, he's as valuable to the Giants as just about anybody. And the people that are saying to bring back Eli, everybody's agreeing that for the Giants to be great, Saquon Barkley has to be a Hall of Fame caliber. He has to be the best running back in the NFL for the Giants to even get to 10, 11 wins. You are putting so much on this guy that he has to be unbelievable next year. And that's where we are. Pat Shurmur's going to have to run the football next year. Here's the point, too. For the Giants, there's probably 2 defensive players where the Giants are going to be selecting that I would absolutely be ecstatic about for the next 10 years. Josh Allen could be a very special pass rusher. I don't want to say Khalil Mack because that's way too much pressure, but even Khalil Mack reached out to Josh Allen on Twitter because he knows Josh Allen's going to be unbelievable. Josh Allen, 3-star kid, not recruited at all, was going to play at Monmouth, as hungry as anybody. Gained 30 pounds in 3 months. He's a freak, and he has the mental capacity of an incredible leader. I think he's going to be a slam dunk home run pick for whoever gets him. Devin White, I've been watching a very long time, and this kid is so incredibly tenacious on the field. He does just about everything. He's exactly like Roquan Smith. Very, very, very similar. Might even be better than that guy. And Devin White is an incredible leader as well. So the personalities of White and Allen are awesome. If the Giants got those 2 guys, I would be completely ecstatic. Now, there is a chance that the Giants miss on both of those guys, to the point where I would look at Reisner from Kansas State, or I would look at Oklahoma tackle. I think it's Cody Ford. Ford, they're nasty and they're tough. So you put Solder and Ford or Reisner in there. So, but those guys, the tackles, are probably further back on my list. Right now, the quarterback that I have number 1 right now, and this is again going to be fluid. We're going to have to watch the combine. We're going to have to go to the Senior Bowl and see everything. The point is, the New York Giants, this is how I would rank the quarterback options. I'm not as high on Teddy Bridgewater. I think he is tied for 4th in terms of guys I would want next year. Number 1 is Dwayne Haskins right now. But that is right now. None of these guys are shoo-ins. Baker Mayfield. Let me just say this about Sam Darnold and Mayfield. And again, this is a long video, but there's a lot of different thoughts that you have. All right. If Baker Mayfield went to the Jets, you know how everybody talks about the Giants are going to have trouble like taking a running back and passing on a quarterback? I would trade Saquon for Baker right now because that's how good Baker Mayfield is. He's a quarterback. He's a gamer. I love the competitive edge that Mayfield has. The throw that he made 60 yards to Perriman, that was amazing. To see him in the NFL with a bigger football, throwing the ball 65 yards in the air, Baker Mayfield is awesome, and he's going to be an incredible quarterback. I think he might even be better than Deshaun Watson already. He's like a top 5, top 7 quarterback in the NFL already. He has resurrected the Cleveland Browns, his personality. You don't find Baker Mayfields everywhere. The Browns, by far, John Dorsey, made an amazing pick. It was incredible to draft a 5'11 guy that nobody really expects. Maybe he's 6'1". No one expects you to draft a walk-on quarterback, a guy that 3 years ago was playing like intramural softball at Oklahoma in the dorms that the coach didn't even know who Mayfield was, Bob Stoops, when he came up to practice for Trevor Knight. If the Giants passed on Mayfield and Mayfield was on the Jets, I think the Jets, honestly, even, with Todd Bowles, they would be headed in a great direction. They would have 7 or 8 wins. Jets Central and everybody would pile on. That would be difficult because he's that good. That's a guy you lose sleep over. You don't with Sam Darnold. And then Josh Allen could potentially be very good, but he's a project. Josh Rosen next year will probably make a tremendous leap. But again, half the people that Josh Rosen plays with says that he's pretentious, and half like him. It's not universal. With Baker Mayfield, mostly every teammate likes Baker Mayfield. There's a few that don't like him. Okay? Point is, the Giants with Saquon Barkley, it was the correct pick. I still like Davis Webb more than Darnold, more than Allen and Rosen. If I could choose a quarterback to have on my team, I'm taking Davis Webb over Darnold. I'm taking Davis Webb over Josh Rosen and Josh Allen. I still believe Webb can start next year in the NFL. I think he's going to start. He's going to pick somewhere that's very good. And I'm getting off on a tangent. But anyway, I still love Webb, and I still think Webb's going to win playoff games and be pretty good at this level. Really, I do. This year in the quarterback class, you have Dwayne Haskins as your quarterback. Dwayne Haskins is a guy that is kind of like Mitchell Trubisky. He's only played like 12 games. He's a guy that plays at Ohio State, and their offense is pretty simple, but I've seen Haskins interviewed with Jerry DiNardo of the Big Ten. He knows he's very good on the chalkboard in terms of knowing, in terms of X's and O's. He's very smart. Very smart. Cool under pressure. He was down 13 at Happy Valley. He was able to lead his team to a win. He's clutch. He has a great arm. Unbelievable arm talent. Amazing arm talent. Mobile enough. New York Giants fan as a kid. Understands Eli. Understands our fans. Understands the region of the Northeast. Understands understands the responsibility. And understands us. Understands New York Giants football. The more it is, it's a match made in heaven. If Dwayne Haskins slips to number 8 or number 7 or possibly 6, I would trade a first rounder next year and Landon Collins or Beckham probably for him. Landon Collins preferably. Because Beckham, if the Giants traded Odell Beckham, honestly, it would have to be Odell's character this year has not been very good. It would have to be a character issue, which again I would trust internally. But we're going to have to use a very good receiver when teams stack the box. But Dwayne Haskins is just going to be a play-action quarterback. He is the quarterback number 1. He has the ceiling. He has touch underneath. He processes quickly. He's never failed, ever, in his college career. That marks you at number 1. The second quarterback option is a lot harder. Let's talk about the options for next year at the quarterback position. This is so much fun. First off, you have Eli Manning start you off, and Eli's a great guy to learn under. Davis Webb has learned under him really well. Okay. Derek Carr, David Carr liked Eli Manning. Everybody, Eli Manning's a great guy to work along with, a great pal. So here's what we're going to do. So Drew Lock to me, sorry, I had to tear that off. Drew Lock, his talent is unbelievable. I just smile thinking about Drew Lock because this guy, the back shoulder throw that he made last year against Arkansas is one of the greatest college throws I've ever seen. The throw against Texas too, where he loops it into a bucket. Drew Lock gets me emotionally excited. Drew Lock gets me fired up beyond anything. He is as fun of a quarterback prospect as you're ever going to see. The arm talent, I can't wait to see him in Indianapolis. People talk about Josh Allen. Drew Lock's going to throw that mofo 70. He's going to throw that ball 80 mother-effing yards. He's going to throw that ball. We're going to go, wow. We're going to go, wow. Holy shit. Drew Lock is the most fun guy, okay? But the point is about Drew Lock as a quarterback is that Drew Lock, we just said that he's enjoyable to watch play the position. But Drew Lock, against great teams, has sucked. He stares down one read. He has, unlike Dwayne Haskins, he's flat-footed in the pocket. I think he's, unfortunately, Nick Foles. And Nick Foles was good enough to win a championship, but Nick Foles is not a consistent 16-game quarterback. Drew Lock is a little Jay Cutler. His personality, he doesn't will his team on like a Mayfield. Like against Purdue, Drew Lock was very emotional and very involved. But against Georgia, against Alabama, his mind was elsewhere. He was just not as passionate as I wanted him to be. So the personality, and now let's compare him to Herbert. Herbert is people say Herbert has a big arm. I don't love Herbert's arm strength. I don't like how he throws it down the football field. I don't. I like the mobility. He's good on the run. He is okay. His arm strength is okay to pretty good. Everywhere he checks boxes, though, he doesn't really have a big weakness, and that's what I like about Herbert. Herbert, to me, is better, is clearly the third best option. He's better than Teddy Bridgewater at the quarterback position. And Herbert, it mentally is even better than Drew Lock. This guy is really, really smart, a 4-0 guy. And Drew Lock, or Herbert, has the personality where everybody in Eugene swears by the guy. He wasn't heavily recruited. He has that chip on the shoulder. He's very, very responsible. He'll get along with Eli. Both Herbert and Haskins, their personalities are just perfect. I think Herbert, I like Herbert. I like the personality of Herbert. I think he's okay. I would be, it's not like, Drew Lock is more exciting than Herbert. Even Haskins is more exciting than Herbert. But Herbert is safe and, listen, I like Herbert, and he has the potential to be a very good quarterback, like a Phillip Rivers, right? So if you get Phillip Rivers, that's who Herbert projects to, or a Romo or a Phillip Rivers, like a good quarterback. Could he win a Super Bowl or two? Probably yes. But he's never going to be a generational talent. Dwayne Haskins has the ability to be Big Ben. Herbert, to me, is Phillip Rivers. Drew Lock could be Patrick Mahomes. He could be Aaron Rodgers. But Drew Lock, to me, is going to be Nick Foles, unfortunately. And that's sad to say. His floor is Cutler or Foles. And lowest floor is Drew Lock. Okay, so Herbert is probably the guy. Tua Tagovailoa, if Tua was out, you're talking about Tom Brady. You're talking about Drew Brees. You're talking about Tua is in another class of his own, okay? Tua's not coming out. But then next year, you're passing on a quarterback this year. You're bringing in a Bridgewater, or it would be dumb if the Giants didn't sign any free agents. And it would be very dumb to then not draft any quarterbacks, because then Eli Manning next year with no spotter or no harness, you're going full on Eli Manning. We've been there, and there's a chance that it could totally suck. I mean, imagine if defenses start stacking the box against Saquon, and Eli, like, literally the arm, it looks like it's going to fall off in half the games he's playing. Like, Eli needs to be out there next year to start, but he needs to have a harness. And Dwayne Haskins as your harness, okay, as your backstop. Kyle Lauletta didn't look like he was ready to play. He didn't play very well, and he doesn't have the upside of Herbert. He doesn't have the arm strength of Justin Herbert or any of those guys. He just doesn't. He doesn't have that ceiling that you look for. Tua Tagovailoa, That's the only quarterback that I even know about next year. I mean, Hunter Johnson, you're going to see people emerge from everywhere in college football, that everywhere we don't expect. Who the hell knows who's going to be the quarterback next year? But if the Giants don't take any there's three pretty good options at quarterback this year. And next year, you have Tua Tagovailoa. Everybody in the free world is going to want that quarterback. Why would the Giants with Saquon Barkley, why are they ever going to get near Tua Tagovailoa? Or Tagovailoa? I don't even, listen, I say his name wrong. Tua, whoever gets number one, if someone offered you 3 first-round picks, you don't do anything. It's Tua. No one in the world could have came in the national championship against Georgia. And no one, Georgia's defense this year, people are saying Jalen Hurts is the same thing as Tua. Tua was the Heisman winner this year. Tua doesn't even need to play the fourth quarter this year. And Georgia's defense was nowhere near where they were last year. They had Roquan last year. They had Ledbetter last year. They had Aaron Davis last year. Their defensive line, I'm just telling you, it was I watched Georgia's defense last year. They had our guy, Lorenzo Carter. They were amazing last year. Their defense is nowhere near that this year. Nowhere near it. Even against Florida, they struggled. Against LSU, you think Joe Burrow would have done well against that defense last year? Hell no. So Jalen Hurts, he came in, he rolled to the right. Georgia had no contain at all. And Jalen Hurts, he played well. Dan Enos made Jalen Hurts really good. Jalen Hurts is a lot better this year than he was last year. Watch Mississippi State Jalen Hurts. So people acting like Tua's a system quarterback. Yes, Tua has good weapons, but he makes those weapons that much better. He does. He makes those weapons good. It's not the weapons make him. He makes the weapons. His arm strength, Tua can throw the football, and it's the quickest release. You have the quickest release guy. Pocket awareness, it can't teach. You can't teach the way he slides. He's Steve Young. He's unbelievable. He's Hall of Fame. You get that guy, and you let him, for the next 15 years, do whatever the hell he wants to do. Okay? He's Andrew Luck without the injuries. He's a slam dunk. But the point is, Giants fans, why should we think that all of the franchises in the NFL, why should we think that we're going to go 1-15, 0-16 next year and have the number 1 pick? Or why? And why would you want to do that again? You have Saquon Barkley. He's only in his second year. Running backs, they have a shelf life. Saquon's going to have 6 or 7 years, okay? You got to take advantage of these 6 or 7 years. Period. Because we're going to run him like crazy. I mean, he's not going to have a longevity of 8 years. We're giving him the ball every single time we can next year. The reason why we should be excited for next year, our defense is playing really well. That's why we're going to beat Tennessee. Dave Gettleman is great. B.J. Hill, Lorenzo Carter, great. So then you look at Bridgewater and Greer are the fourth guys. If you could give up a first-round pick and a player, any player, even Odell, and you secure, and Gettleman likes Herbert, likes Haskins, Drew Lock, I'd be like, wow. But I trust Dave Gettleman with that decision. And I would be excited about all 3 of those guys coming into the fold. They all have like great qualities, and I'll take them. I'm comfortable with any of those 3. Will Greer, I have to see him in Mobile, little quiet, definitely a different personality. I'm not saying that's bad. It's just like he has a kid. He reminds me of Derek Carr. He's very similar to Carr. Got married at an early age, has a kid, played in a crazy conference in a crazy sort of way. Teddy Bridgewater, injured, not a big arm, limited for sure. A stopgap quarterback. A little Tyrod Taylor-esque. Yeah. Don't really like it. I don't really like Bridgewater. I'm not going to get that excited for Teddy Bridgewater. I'm not. I'm just not. I saw him in the playoffs against Seattle. He could only muster 10 points. Teddy Bridgewater, when you get Bridgewater as a quarterback, you're basically saying, hey, Teddy, just don't make any mistakes. Don't make any mistakes. Run around a little bit and don't make mistakes. But you're not saying, but if you have Bridgewater, you're not screaming to the NFL, our quarterback has the ability to beat you. When you have Herbert, when you have Drew Lock, and you have Haskins, NFL defensive coordinators are going to think that quarterback can actually beat you on a given Sunday. But when you have Greer and Teddy Bridgewater, you're not going to be feeling that way. Those are my opinions about the quarterback position. And you know what? If Haskins is there at number 6, you're taking your chance. The problem is with trading into the top 3 is then we're probably giving 2 picks, which isn't very good. We're probably giving like a first, a second, and we're giving players. And it's going to be a lot. It's going to be bad if we're trading into the top 3. But we look at 6 or 7 and we try to leapfrog Jacksonville because I'm very worried about Jacksonville. We go to 5 or 6 and we get Dwayne Haskins. We end the day right there. It would be beautiful. It'd be great because even though I want to, you have a 1 in 31 chance. That's dumb. And then next year you're sitting back and then your options are bad. This year the options are not that bad. It's a better quarterback class than people are giving credit for. Herbert is very, very safe. Dwayne Haskins is very, very safe. Those are 2 guys that are pretty safe quarterbacks. People will say Haskins is a risk because he's only played 11 games. They'll say he's a Cardale Jones. They'll say that he's a big, quarterback that's going to get sacked and can't move and can't move and can't move and can't move. He can move a little bit. He's very fast processing, big arm. I'm all on board with those options. Haskins 1, Herbert 2. Let's take Dwayne Haskins. Let's do it. Let's take Haskins in the draft. If not, you have White, Allen, offensive tackle. That's how I'm going after it. Who else in the first round do I like? Deontay Thompson, not a terrible pick. Very good safety. I wouldn't hate it. Who else would I not hate, though, after the list? Williams is going too high. Jonah Williams and Greg Little to me. Greg Little's not going to fit. He's a little too finesse. That's what I hear about him. I don't want a finesse lineman. You're getting a right tackle. You need the guy to play tough. So those are the options. That's how we look at it next year. Next year, I'm not going to say we're going to win 10 games because Saquon Barkley is going to have to be immortal. He's going to have to be perfect. The defense is going to have to play a lot better, but I have faith that can happen with James Betcher. So I still am envisioning, it's still very possible. You have Eli, you now have Red Ellison, you only use Evan Ingram in very special cases. You use him as a specialty player, as a 6-man off of your bench, and you start Red Ellison. Sterling Shepard's okay, but I'm wait and see. This franchise, this team has burned me the last couple of years. This year, 1-7 burned me. The Ben McAdoo thing, the Ben McAdoo decision, the Jerry Reese, all the terrible picks, having Eric Flowers starting in the season. Pat Shurmur has burned me a little bit. I'm like burned. I'm like Harvey Dent in this mofo. You know what I mean? I'm like Harvey Dent. I'm burned. Why would I want to say that I'm fully healthy? That I'm ready to go to the Academy Awards. I'm ready to sit in the first 2 rows, but half of my face is burned off. Why would it, as a Giants fan, why do you want to do that? Why do you want to say we're winning 10, 11 games? Chris the Entertainer believes it. Chris does. That we're going all the, I'm not going to be that guy. I have egg all over my damn face. From Davis Webb, from Jared Goff and Pat Shurmur and the offensive line. I'm a little too burnt. The 49ers, I'm a little like Harvey Dent right now. I'm not ready to say, hey, Chicago, hey, LA, New Orleans. I'm ready to go, I'm ready to go to a party. I'm ready to go to the Academy Awards. I'm ready to sit in your row. But because right now, the Giants are literally like half their face is torn off, is burned. You're not ready for that yet. Let's see something better than 1-7. Pump the brakes a little bit. We have work to do. We still beat Mark Sanchez at quarterback. Like, I'm getting a little bit excited. I'm planning a little bit. Like, I'm saying 10 wins could happen. The Eagles suck this year, which is great. Doug Peterson's gone. The Rams look mortal. New Orleans is getting older. The Vikings suck. Yes. Aaron Rodgers is in disarray. Yes. The NFC is not very good. Everybody has their problems. Everybody has their problems. But at the same time, we were 1-7. It's like, are we going to do that? Are we going to be there? Are we going to do that? I'm just not ready. I don't want to say anything. I want to let this thing unfold, react on a given basis. But that's the draft. That's how I'm feeling right now. It could very well change. I'm going to watch Dwayne Haskins' interviews. I'm going to watch Justin Herbert's interviews. We're going to watch them throw at the combine and everywhere. And this thing's going to change. We're going to be 1 week, we're going to go Drew Lock. Oh, Drew Lock. And then 1 week, we're going to go Herbert. Herbert. And then we're going to be like Haskins. It's going to be fun. It's going to be a wild ride. It's going to be great. Yes. That's the video. Giants.